Well, I'm sure there's certain beekeepers up north that would get a good laugh out of me dressing like this when it's a balmy 8 degrees Fahrenheit out. But I'm sorry, I prefer it to be a little warmer than that. In any case, it snowed, and I want to go back and I just want to take a look to make sure the entrances are clear. I mean, there's not too much you can do during the winter, but you want to make sure that those entrances don't get clogged over with snow, because that, prevents air from getting in there and they could suffocate. There we go. There it is. So we're reaching the end of January. It's time to go back and do what I would call a quick buzz check. About the only thing you can do is just lift the burlap and make sure there's still bees in there buzzing, and identify any hives that might have died out. If that's the case, if we have a deadout, and I wait for it to get well below freezing again, and I'll pull it apart. The freezing out of the hive will tend to kill the wax moth larvae and any hive beetles that might be hiding out. Makes it easier to put it in storage. Sorry for the bouncing, I'm walking. So I'm very happy as long as I see 1 or 2 bees walking around. And lo and behold, there's bees walking around. I hear them down in there. That's all I need to know. They've got plenty of food. So put these girls back to bed. I'm gonna go right down the line and just look in the tops of these hives. And hopefully all of them have something buzzing inside them. So all the regular old hives check out fine. Now here's where things get a little weird. We had diggers' hives here, 2 of them. That was the weak one. They're still alive. This was the strong one. They're a deadout. They obviously had plenty of food. But you look and you see dead bees at the top, and you come down here and you find dead bees at the bottom. It seemed like they had a small cluster. Obviously they had food, but they just couldn't stay warm for some reason, and they chilled out and they died, which is really unfortunate. There's not too much you can do other than feed them, but this cluster was just too small a cluster to survive. They had plenty of stores, but why the strong one died and the weak one is still alive, that's one of the mysteries of beekeeping. So we'll investigate this deadout, but it appears that they just chilled out. We had temperatures this last week and the week before in the single digits, and that's very hard on a hive. But it's kind of a little crazy that some of the smaller hives we have here are doing okay, and one that had a lot of bees didn't. So what can we tell about this deadout? Well, they had pounds and pounds of honey directly above them, and yet they still may have starved. And the reason being is that it was just too cold for them to move that 3 inches up to get the honey. It's really sad because this was a strong colony. But, bees as a species are very intelligent, but individual hives sometimes can just goof. What could be done differently on this one? Well, it's hard to say. The frames have honey on them, but the girls just didn't move to right where the honey was. Whether it was just too cold for them to move at all, hard to say. So, despite having plenty of food on the hive, they didn't make it. Unfortunate. The thing about beekeeping is you can't get too discouraged. We still have 11 hives that are doing fine. And that may change by March, but we do have one dead out, unfortunately. The postmortem can also provide some interesting insight. There's a little bit more to this story on this hive. Apparently mice ate out the bottom board. But what has that done? It allows cold air to come up through the hive, and that really does increase the chances you're going to end up chilling out the bees. So there was a couple of factors here. There was cold air circulating into the hive due to the mice getting after the bottom board. Now, this is kind of interesting because what I've done on many of these hives is I put a metal plate on the bottom of the hive. And these two hives did not have that metal plate. The metal plate is a bit of a backup. If indeed there is a porosity or something that goes on with the bottom board, it still blocks air circulation. So lesson learned here is we should have made sure that we made up those metal plates that we had on the other hives and put them on these two hives. I may try to jostle that hive and stick a plate under there, but I think the first thing we're going to do is just check the whiteboard and see if there's additional mouse damage to this one. And the answer is no. So this one hive, it appears field mouse tried to chew up and come in. They weren't successful getting in because of the screen, but they were successful in letting cold air in. Oh boy. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, most of the hives are doing fine. But yeah, we did lose one. So I did go through the rest of the bottom boards just to make sure that that wasn't happening elsewhere. And no, that was the only hive that had any sign of chewing on the bottom boards. And I'll tell you, I've been using these whiteboards for, well, 4 years now. Never have run into that before. Lesson learned. As I say, you can be doing this for many decades and you'll find a new lesson. Now, the whiteboards came into favor because of the fact that, you know, varroa mites and varroa checks and what have you. But it apparently is a vulnerability, at least as far as field mice go. They go, okay, we'll chew through this. They smell the honey, they smell the bees, they smell the goodies upstairs. They chew through the whiteboard and then, of course, can't get through the bottom board screen. But what happened there is pretty obvious. We had single-digit temperatures, and with that cold air flow into the hive, it chilled out the bees. So even with food and even with a good cluster size, that was enough to do them in, unfortunately. So, lesson learned. We're going to make sure there's plates under all those hives. I'm not sure, you know, when we'll get out here to try to jostle that one hive and stick a plate under it. As I say, I didn't have any other problems with any other whiteboards, but did on that hive. So we move on. Again, till next week or next month or whenever we're back in there with the bees. Take care, and remember to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Goodbye from Buzz Park.